Hey everybody, I'm just making this video today regarding something different besides hazard pay and essential employees getting screwed over. Today I'm going to be talking about a company that I actually follow pretty religiously along with Tesla because I am a shareholder in both these companies, and that is NIO, ticker symbol NIO. And I'm not going to pull up any technical analysis. Maybe I'll talk a little about the fundamentals of the company, but I just want to give my thoughts on the company itself, and my little take on it as well, and what's my relation and what's my investment in NIO, and things like that. And I'll also talk a little about Tesla, and maybe I'll start with Tesla first, just because I did find Tesla first. So in 2019. I think Tesla was beaten down pretty tremendously. This was after it reached around 327, I think, in 2019. And, I saw the company, I saw Elon Musk, and, where I lived before, when I was a little bit younger, I'm still pretty young, but 25 now, but when I was 18, I used to live in one of the richest states, in one of the richest towns in America. And, in this town, I was poor. I grew up poor, but I had some family who was really well off, and when I was living with my family in this really rich town, yes, it was kind of racist over there, and it was pretty crazy. But yeah, I was living there. All these kids who are my age, they would get these gifts, and a lot of these gifts that were like first-time cars, and a lot of them were like Teslas and things like that, and Porsches too, and a Maserati and Silverado or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll give you a hint on where I used to live. But so anyway, these kids would they'll drive around these Teslas, and they didn't really care about the environment. Actually, I'm just gonna swear, I don't give a fuck anymore. Yeah, so they didn't give a fuck about the environment. They didn't give a shit about nobody. Like, these are the same kind of motherfuckers who would I don't know, fucking eat a candy bar on the side of the road and throw the wrapper on the floor. Those are the kind of fuckers who would drive around a Tesla. They don't give a shit about the environment. None of these rich ass fuckers do. At least, well, okay, some of them did. There was like, okay, maybe there's a few good people, but a majority of these people who own a Tesla were a bunch of, at least in the area I lived, were all a bunch of, I don't know. They didn't really give a shit about the environment, but they wanted an excuse to flex their beautiful vehicles while pretending that they did. Like, these are the kind of people who they don't recycle anything, but they'll have a Tesla and think that's good enough, and they're doing their part for the environment, which is better than nothing, right? Thank God. But there's always been electric vehicles around, so like the Nissan Leaf, so which is something my sister drives. But that being said, I bought a lot of shares in the hundreds for Tesla. I think the first time I ever bought Tesla shares were probably 187 is a number that I remember fondly, and then a little bit in the 220s. But I was racking up tons of shares of Tesla. I don't know. I just had a feeling it was just gonna go up. There was too much rich money in it. I was telling my friend who lived in a rich residential area was telling me about how he invested in golf carts because he knew that even if there was a recession, there's always these kind of people of money will always have money to buy golf carts because they want to drive around in their rich residentials. So I was like, oh, really interesting. So, I thought about that Tesla. Even if there was a recession, there's always going to be an upper middle class that can afford these. And well, now I want to talk about NIO because I actually see a greater potential in NIO. Well, sort of. It really depends. But while I am bullish in both these companies, I focus more on NIO because the stock's a little bit more volatile, and I have significantly more shares because I ended up buying NIO a little bit after the jump up when I bought Tesla, because I was looking for another company that was like, I put a lot of money into Tesla, so let me see if I can find a company that I can also make a profit off of, like, as a side bet. Like, I thought, okay, well, if Tesla's probably going to be the future of America when it comes to electric vehicles, well, China has 1.3 billion people, and China's gonna grow tremendously, and so China has their own, right? There has to be. I've heard Honda. I've heard like all these other American well, not, Honda's Japanese, but I heard a lot of companies, and I was just like, well, what does China have? So I looked into it, and I saw there was like BYDD, which is something that Warren Buffett invests in, which is a Chinese electric vehicle company. And then I saw NIO, and NIO was on the verge of bankruptcy. This was at the time, I think it was like in the dollar. It's like $1.92 or something. So, I was looking at the vehicles, and I was like, wow, these are really beautiful. Like, these guys are spending tons of cash. And the first thing I thought to myself was that, okay, so the Chinese government loves to back up their companies. The Chinese government, there's a possibility of a Shanghai Gigafactory being built in China. And, if Tesla rules China in the EV market, well then that's not going to benefit China as much as a company like NIO, for example. And I saw that, they had some deals with the government before, and I figured, well, the odds are that this company is probably going to do more deals with the government. I also figured to myself that, this is a good gamble, and that's what I thought about it. So, I bought a couple thousand shares at first in $1.92, and I don't know why. I don't know. I just thought it was gonna go up. Like I looked at everything and it seemed perfect. The only thing that was on my mind was that there's two things that this company really needs to do. One, it needs money, and the other thing I thought to myself was, what else did I think? I was like, it had everything. It had like those NIO houses. It had the battery swap technology. It had charging stations. It had all these cool charging stuff that you can do. It had the Nomi. It was working on autonomous driving. It was like something that Tesla did, but they just offered way more things in China. So it's like, wow, this is like Tesla, but significantly better. Like, yeah, Tesla has Tesla's batteries are a bit better, and Tesla has name recognition, but NIO has everything that's way better in every other aspect. And I was just thinking to myself, as a consumer, would I want to drive around a NIO or a Tesla? And if I was living in China, I would drive around a NIO, just because you get all those perks, and the cars and the vehicles are just, in my opinion, a little bit better looking. They're more aesthetic. The interior is a little bit better, in my opinion. Everything about about a NIO is better from the outside and from the inside, except it doesn't have the name brand. It doesn't have the name recognition like a Elon Musk behind it. So I remember I'd always put money into NIO after that, and after when there was an announcement of the Hefei government, or how do they pronounce it in Chinese, Hefei, Heve, I don't know, but once there was announcements of that, I figured, okay, this is probably gonna be a safe bet. Like this pretty much secured what I wanted. A consistent amount of cash flow coming in from different resources and investors, which was from the Hefei government, and the name brand. And then it had supporting and backing from the government as well. So I was like, wow, these are three things that I really love about it. And people don't particularly like this, but it's just what I liked about NIO. And that, again, as I was saying, what I really wanted when I first invested in NIO was, one, they just needed more money, and two, they just needed more time. And I feel like, in my opinion, Tesla did all the paving work so other electric vehicles could succeed. And with its high cash burn, I feel like NIO's differentiated themselves tremendously from every other electric vehicle company, even Tesla, with the battery swapping technology, which can be really good for something like a fleet of taxi services, is a really good thing, in my opinion, because in 5 years from now, if NIO keeps on expanding that the way they do, and there's significantly more battery swapping stations, or even areas in particular where they have warehouses that dedicate themselves to servicing a fleet of autonomous driving vehicles that are taxis, that would be a good benefit in my opinion, to have all these battery swap technologies. And it might not be the best thing in 20, 30 years from now, or 40 years, but you know in the 1, 10, 20 years, even it could last, it could be a long time actually, because I think people are underestimating the growth of technology, but no one really knows in the end of the day. But I just figured that the battery swap technology is such a great thing. It's very undervalued in my opinion, and it's something, people at first don't people will initially look at the battery swap technology and think, well, there's long lines if there's five or more people. But NIO is going to build more battery swapping stations according to the amount of sales that they make, right? Which only makes sense. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But the battery swap technology is important because I don't believe that a Tesla or many other electric vehicles can change their batteries as fluid as a NIO can. And then we have the BaaS, right? Battery as a service. And that's something that I didn't, I, I knew about it, and I had wondered what it was going to be. But basically what it does is that it allows people to lease the batteries. I mean, it allows people to, lease the car, buy the car and then lease the battery, I think. I'd have to look into that more because I haven't been following NIO as much recently, just because I'm trying to invest in other stocks at the moment. And I have so much in NIO right now. But um, anyway, so this makes the NIO vehicles much more affordable to the average person. And most of us here are investors, right? So we look at how we purchase things differently. But the average consumer, I used to work in sales. This was a genius idea because when I worked in sales, we would lease a lot of things because people can't afford the upfront cost. But people gladly live paycheck to paycheck. Even in America, we can see that, paycheck to paycheck. And I figured NIO is going to be a good, NIO became even a better investment. And I kicked myself because I only bought I bought a good amount of shares when I heard about BaaS, but I didn't put as much as I should have. And I might put in more again in a different portfolio though, just because I want to keep, because oh well, actually I should go back to where I was. I'm sorry. I'm on a tangent. But anyway, so after the Hefe government was after the Hefe, I'm going to talk more about the Hefe. I'm going to talk about the timeline when it came to NIO in my investment. So when the Hefe government came in and the government and this funding was secured, we saw NIO reach around like $5. Was it 4.90 or something? Five, and then the C virus came, and then a recession occurred, and there's a saying that NIO is like a coiled spring, and like it makes sense. It really does because you know we were at $5 like 2 or 3 months ago, right? And we had a dip because of the virus that happened in the recession, the global pandemic and recession. So it made sense that NIO was like a coiled spring. I did say oftentimes that NIO was undervalued in my other video that I made a long time ago. And I still think that it is. I still think that till this day NIO is undervalued. This is even after 75 million shares diluted. I think actually I'm actually in favor of it as a long-term investor personally. But anyway, yeah. So after the pandemic hit in China, I ended up buying more shares there because I always knew NIO was undervalued. There was just no way anymore that that NIO could go bankrupt. There was just there's just no way that NIO could go bankrupt after the Hefe government had finally secured the deal of NIO. So I ended up buying a lot of shares in that area because I knew there was just no way it's ever going to dip back down. This company is undervalued, and so I those times are pretty stressful, man. I'm not gonna lie. I had some sleepless nights around those times. I really did because there was so much uncertainty in the world at the time. But I guess I just figured it was never gonna go bankrupt because of the Hefe agreement, and so I bought thousands of shares in that area as well. And the reason why I'm saying this, and one day I might show my portfolio, is because I guess I don't know. I feel like there's some validity to what I'm saying when it comes to investing in NIO, just because I put my money where my mouth is. I remember I was watching a few YouTubers before, and you know, the amount of money you put in doesn't necessarily equate to how much you your hit rate when it comes to a stock is, but when you put more money where your mouth is, it definitely speaks volumes on how much effort you're putting into understanding a company. And so, when the Hefe government and the pandemic hit, I was telling a lot of my friends to, hey, invest in NIO. The company's doing great fundamentally. The sales are increasing every month, every quarter. This company's going to go places. It's offering things that just a lot of electric vehicle companies don't even do. Until this day, even though I'm a shareholder in both Tesla and NIO, I see way more perks to owning a NIO vehicle in China than a Tesla, and people don't understand that. Also, the market for electric vehicles is significantly bigger in China as well. So you have a home player selling his vehicles in the home country, in a country that wants to buy. And so after that, NIO had just kind of soared after that, it just went up. There was more and more things coming out. And I think that with the sales numbers, I think that was one of the bigger reasons why it went up. And then we had a lot of institutions saying that, oh, NIO is valued at X, and most of them were positive. And then I would always buy a certain amount every month because, well, I'm a long-term investor. I don't have the time to day trade stocks. I would like to have the time, but I just can't. I do swing trade NIO occasionally though, because I understood NIO so well on a technical basis that I knew the patterns and stuff. But these days I don't, just because I cannot, and I don't follow it as much as I used to, just because I'm pretty secured, much like my Tesla investment. But I have to go back into the trenches again, because Tesla is going to go for a stock split, and that's heavily going to influence NIO. I think so. I don't know, man. I'm just talking on my ass at this point. I don't know what to really say, but I'm pretty happy with the movement that NIO has made. I think that personally, NIO is going to be going up way past 50 by the end of the year, and unless they keep diluting shares. But you know what? I don't really care in particular. It's nice to see it go up, but when it comes to diluting shares and things like that, it's just NIO trying to gather more funding. And it's important that NIO does this, because if pretend you were in China, right, and you had $500,000 saved up, and you work as a middle class, you work in middle class, okay, and you need a place. You live in an apartment. You need an electric vehicle, and you need a lifestyle that's going to accommodate your busy sort of life. You're a young professional. What are you going to buy, a Tesla or a NIO? Well, a Tesla offers the perks of having something from Elon Musk, and while Elon Musk is from South Africa, I guess it sort of is an American-based company, and it is an electric vehicle. But for me, because I want to fit in with the Chinese, and I am not Chinese, I'd buy a NIO vehicle. Also, because all the great NIO perks, you get the NIO house, you get the battery as a service, you get to lease the battery, so the upfront cost is significantly cheaper. I don't know if it's going to be like the smartphones, where you can buy the battery and then buy a new vehicle and then trade in your old vehicle for a new vehicle. Then they'll sell that vehicle for a cheaper price elsewhere. Maybe. But yeah, I'd buy the NIO vehicle just because it's a beautiful from the inside and outside. I'd fit in better. I love it. It'd stand out more. The interiors is just so beautiful. There's way more perks to owning it, from the vehicle itself to the things outside, like the portable battery services, the battery swapping, I believe that NIO offers a taxi service as well, which is okay. It can be pretty useful. The NIO houses where I would love to do my business and work on things work on things that I have to do in a NIO house. And if I ever need a place like an office, well, there's my second office right there. And it comes with a lot of accommodations, and the culture and the environment that this house provides me is something that a young professional or any professional in general would love. They can host offices and meetings over there. They have babysitters as well. And they have all these other accommodations that and services that NIO offers. And I think William Lee understands that he's competing with Tesla, so he's going to have to offer way more, which is why there's such a high cash burn. But because they burned so much cash in the beginning and even until now, NIO has been successfully able to differentiate themselves from all the other competition, and even in China has done significantly better than Tesla, in my opinion. So even though I don't know if I'm biased. I think so. I mean, you tell me, but NIO just offers way more perks than a Tesla. And you know what? If I can't get a few extra miles because the battery isn't as good as the Tesla's, well, I don't have to worry about that because my battery won't depreciate because I can just swap it out for a new one. And these NIO stations, they do battery checks. So it doesn't matter. If my battery's not doing so well after 2 years, I'll just get a different battery. I'll get a new one. If yes, the AI technology, autonomous driving isn't as good as a Tesla, supposedly. We don't know that, but let's pretend that it is true. Well, I don't really use these things anyway. I don't feel comfortable with it anyway. I don't really want to at this moment, just because I don't feel safe with that anyway. Even if they were on the same level, I just don't feel comfortable with it. It would be something nice to show off and flex with, but I don't really want to use that unless I can switch it on and off during maybe like a rush hour traffic area where it's stop and go, but I don't want to use that driving to anywhere, at least now, because I don't trust other drivers. And I would rather just stick to driving on my own, and so I wouldn't be able to appreciate the autonomous driving as of yet. This will change though. Give me 10-20 years, when autonomous driving is on a new level and there's more regulations on the road to accommodate the autonomous driving. I would definitely be down to use it. But as of now, I just don't feel comfortable with it. I just don't. So I don't care that Tesla's autonomous driving is better. So I get a little bit less range, but the interior is more luxurious, it's more beautiful, and there's just all the NIO perks in China. So, I would pick the NIO. There's just too many perks to owning a NIO in China. But if they came to America, would I buy a Tesla or a NIO? Well, I'd buy more shares of Tesla. But I would still buy a NIO vehicle anyway. And here's the reason why. Just because the vehicle is significantly better from the inside and outside. I love it. It's more accommodating. I won't use the autonomous driving anyway. A few extra miles that I'm getting from a Tesla battery doesn't make a big difference to me from a NIO battery. I just don't care about the extra miles enough. I wouldn't, as of now, if I were to get a NIO vehicle, I wouldn't get the perks that a NIO has, but that's okay. Because, to be honest, I want to flex my vehicle around. I want a vehicle that people look at and be like, wow, it's a status symbol. It shows that he can afford this vehicle because he's accomplished enough things. I would love to drive my family around it. And the Know Me feature, like, that's so cool. Like, if I drove my friends and family around, they'd love it. They'd be like, wow, this is so cool. Like, wow. And just because the interior is so much more beautiful and comfortable as well. And it's more spacious, in my opinion. And it's the type of vehicle I like. But yeah, it's different. It's still very classy looking. A lot of people drive a Tesla in my state, but no one drives a NIO. So, I would stick out and I get more attention. And that's what I want. So, I would drive around the NIO. Because I just like the vehicle better, and why not flex something that nobody has yet? I'd be like the first one. It'd be like, like when you go to a party and you have a nice suit or a nice dress, you want to be the only one with that nice suit or nice dress. Well, I'm going to be the only one with a nice suit. And then, then other people start wearing the suit. But, for a while, I get to be the only one with a nice suit. And that's why I look at the NIO vehicles. And they're both very quality, Tesla and NIO. But, everybody drives a Tesla around, but nobody's driving a NIO around yet. So I get to be the first one. And people are going to be like, wow, is that a NIO? Wow, what's that? I've never seen that before. That looks beautiful. What is that? Holy moly. That'll be me. And a lot of people feel that way too. I don't know. I'm just speaking on whatever on my mind is. So I think in the past 3 months now or 4 months, and this, I'll just say 2020. We've seen a lot of dilution with NIO, right? Wasn't there that one recently, a couple months ago, where it was at $5.95 or something? Well, NIO was a coiled spring anyway, and I think with the 75 million that's also being added, investors have to look at it like this. What made NIO successful? They were able to differentiate themselves from the competition. When you look at XPeng, Nikola, well, I don't look at Nikola, but when you look at all these other electric vehicle companies or even older manufacturing companies, right, that are transitioning into electric vehicle. Well, yes, a Honda, a Ford, a Dodge, a Chrysler, like, yes, if they switched over to electric vehicle, that's cool. But in China, all these other companies wouldn't be able to accommodate users as significantly well as a NIO. Their vehicles wouldn't be as luxurious or as high quality either. The services wouldn't be as great either, from the battery swapping to the NIO houses to the community and all the other NIO perks that you get from owning the vehicle. And that's why they're doing so well in China. The last Q2 they had over 10,000 sales for a relatively new startup company. And they got to keep burning cash so they can differentiate themselves from the pack. And then when everybody notices them, which is happening, that's when they can kind of slow down a little bit. But it's kind of like when everybody's in a race, okay? And when you have, when you're racing, right, there's 10 people racing. Sometimes you have to burn the gas a little bit. You have to burn more gas to make that lead, because there's so many variables in a race, like the wind, the traction, the weather, all these other things, right? So if you differentiate yourself from the pack, right, and you're ahead of everybody in the race, well, you're looking behind, and that demoralizes a lot of people. When you're ahead of everybody and people are looking at your back, they're demoralized. And but people are looking at you because you're at first place. So, well, Tesla is in first place. NIO is gonna join that Tesla party, in my opinion. And Tesla and NIO are gonna be so ahead in their respective fields and what they're offering. And they offer different things, of course. Tesla and NIO, while they are electric vehicle companies, they offer completely different things. They're gonna be so ahead that how are all these other companies gonna compete? With the battery as a service with the BaaS, people who want to join, old companies that want to sell electric vehicles, well, now NIO vehicles are even more affordable, and to join that prestige of owning a NIO is way more obtainable for those who couldn't initially afford a NIO vehicle because they had to pay for that, the price of the battery and the vehicle. And people might not think that it matters, but it actually does. A lot of people can't afford an iPhone or a new Samsung outright because those cost $1,000+. But they can if they only have to pay an upfront cost of $200 depending on their credit, and then they get to pay a monthly lease and then trade it in when the new one comes out. Yeah. So I think NIO's doing a great job, and with this dip that might occur, I gotta be honest, I don't know if NIO is gonna pull back hard because of the 75 millions in dilution, because we saw what happened last time. It didn't do much. When we had that, when more shares were issued. And I don't think that we will see a huge pullback, just because even till this day at $20, NIO was undervalued. NIO still is undervalued as a company. So if you've actually managed to listen this long, here's what I think is going to happen in the next, I don't know, month or two from now. Let's assume that the sales either stay the same or increase a little bit, or even significantly more, because Q3 and Q4 always have more sales, right? Christmas, blah, blah, blah. And plus, with the people, if people in China can't travel, where are they spending? Where's the upper middle class and middle class spending their money? On a NIO, because they can't go on vacation to Japan or Hawaii or Tahiti. So they're buying a nice NIO vehicle this year, because you know what? If I can't leave my country and go on vacation, at least I can buy myself a nice little something, right? So those 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand they would have spent in a different country on vacation, spending on a NIO vehicle. And then, why take mass transit if you can buy a NIO, especially in a time like this where there's so much uncertainty with the virus going on? So I think NIO sales are actually going to increase in Q3 and Q4 tremendously, and people aren't considering the reasons why. Because yes, while America is in a global pandemic, China is rising economically, and that's why we see America. We saw Bernie Sanders. We saw Bernie Sanders perform so well because you have to wonder why. And I'm not going to go into that, but just think about it. All this money being given out. Just think about it. Why is it like this? Where's all the manufacturing? I'm not going to talk about it too much, but why is the middle class in America dwindled, but the middle class in China has risen significantly? I don't know. It makes you wonder. So NIO sales are going to probably beat Q2 significantly, in my opinion, because of a bunch of reasons that people just usually, it's kind of hard to understand unless you understand a few other things and you're looking at a certain perspective. And then what else do I think? With Tesla, I gotta say, as a Tesla shareholder, while I am very optimistic on the company, I never expected it to go from an average of 180 when I bought in, 187, to 2000 in 1 year's time. I did not expect that at all. And I think that after the stock splits, there's going to be a lot of profit takers, and Tesla's going to drop a little bit. But all in all, Tesla's just going to keep going up and up and up and up. But, there's going to be a little bit of a drop. And I think that people taking profit are going to throw some of their money into NIO. Because, let's just say the average person owns, I don't know, 100 shares of Tesla, for example. Well, after that 2000 peak, or 2,200 as of now, you could, after the stock split happens, and you look at the technical analysis carefully, and maybe you wait on the fundamentals as well, like the battery swapping and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. You wait a little bit, see how things go, and if it starts to stagnate a little bit, because, it might stagnate, we don't know. But if it starts stagnating a little bit, people might want to take a little bit of their profit out and then put it into a different area, right? You want to expand your profit. So where are you going to put that into? Something that is still undervalued, something that's still like a cold spring, something that isn't understood as well, but something you can still understand because you understand Tesla. NIO. Why would you want to put your money into other old automakers that are transitioning? A lot of them might not even make it because the cost to actually transition into electric vehicle is significant. And do your research on why they haven't yet, and you'll probably figure out a little bit on, maybe you'll understand a little bit more on, maybe even if older companies did transition, it's not going to make a big difference. And then think about, like, I forgot what I was going to say. I don't know, I'm speaking on my ass at the moment. It's been a long day. But anyway, yeah, I think that the 75 million dilution that's going to happen, I think that it's going to either drop a little bit, it's going to stay the same, or it's going to rise significantly, because if you look at it long term, the more money NIO has, the more money they can use to bettering the NIO company, right? Like Amazon throws all their profits into bettering the company, expanding. But just like with the babies thing, right? Amazon would take a couple blows just to secure their future revenue. And I see NIO doing the same thing. They're just going to use that money to better differentiate themselves from the pack. And I knew the dilution was going to happen. I thought they were going to wait a little bit longer, but I still see in a month from now, NIO is going to be significantly higher than what it is today. And another reason why I think NIO is going to go up is because where else are people going to put their money? It's just the value of the dollar is dropping tremendously every day. Every time we do quantitative easing, just more and more money losing value. The banks aren't safe to put your money into because it can't beat the inflation. So why not put it in NIO? Odds are China's economy is on the rise anyway. NIO is going to be rising, so at least that can beat the inflation. And while the price per share shouldn't make a big difference because it's about the amount of money you have in a company, not really the price per share, the more affordable number of a NIO, which is less than $100 at the moment, is significantly more appealing than putting $2,200 per share in a Tesla. So, there's just too many things that are looking overall bullish for NIO, and I think, I don't really know what I'm going on anymore. I'm fucking tired, but NIO's gonna do really well. I wouldn't really worry about the 75 million. I personally think it's a really good thing. It just lets me sleep easier at night knowing that NIO has more cash on hand. And fuck man, like if NIO drops from the dilution, I'm gonna end up buying more shares because I still think that the company overall is gonna fucking do really fucking good. And I've been telling all my friends since the $2 range, buy NIO. I've been telling people to buy Tesla since the 187s. No one really listened to me except for a few, but I see Tesla and NIO doing very, very well. And I think one last thing that you need to consider is you have to study China's economy. There's a lot of negative propaganda towards China just because we are in America, but you have to do your research. You can't just look at the company itself. You have to look at who they're selling to and where they're selling it. So I don't know what the fuck to say anymore, but overall I'm very bullish on NIO. I think you should go long term, and if you ever understand the company well enough, maybe you can play with options like I have. Maybe you can do a little bit of trading. I bought a lot of call options in the $2 range at 3, so I don't know why I'm working anymore. I don't know why. Maybe I'll stop working and I'll focus on my education again once the pandemic dies down a little bit and once the elections are over, maybe I'll just focus on trading stocks. But with that being said, do your research on not just NIO but the economy of China, and then understand what they're doing. Because I think one more thing that you need to understand is that while the U.S. is on decline, well, who pays for that? Who paid for the lifestyle that the average U.S. citizen had? Just think about the economies of U.S. and China and all these other things, and then I don't know. It helped me understand why I was investing in NIO, and it hasn't gone wrong so far. So do a lot of research, not just on NIO, but on everything else around it. So with that being said, I don't know, man. Good luck.